2022 Saints Row Reboot is one of the worst failures we have seen in the video game industry. Critically and commercially, basically everybody hated it and it did not make money. It led to the closure of Volition, a 30-year-old studio, and now apparently an original Saints Row designer says that he was asked to pitch for a revival. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, after the closure of Volition, after them losing $100 million on the Saints Row reboot, we all thought that was the end of this series, and really, all I can say is good riddance. If you are going to continue to butcher beloved characters and storylines, you don't deserve to be able to make another game in that series. Saints Row was known as GTA's little brother, and it should have always stayed that way, and instead we got the cringiest millennial squad possible in the reboot, and they're doing things like stealing because they're trying to pay off student debt. I mean, they really looked like people who hang out at Starbucks drinking soy lattes all day. That's why nobody took them seriously. That's why nobody bought this game, and it's why it led to such major losses. But now apparently Embracer wants to do a revival of this series, which is just wild to hear. It says original Saints Row designer Chris Stockman has revealed that he wants to revive the open world crime series following the poorly received 2022 reboot, and claims publisher Embracer Group has reached out to hear more. Now, of course, take this all with a grain of salt. I genuinely do not know if Embracer would ever revive this series. I genuinely don't know if I believe that they want to make another Saints Row game after the major losses of the reboot, but maybe they're thinking to themselves, if we bring back established characters, or we try to, go in the direction that the series was going in, maybe it will turn out well. I don't know really what they would be thinking. It sounds like another waste of money. So he departed the developer Volition in 2007, shortly after Saints Row 1's release. Following stints at Human Head Studios and Zynga, he founded VR-focused studio Bit Planet Games, known for the likes of Ultra Wings and the Battle of Soul. But nearly 20 years after the first one's release, Stockman reckons he knows what will make the series work, and it wasn't in the recent reboot. He said there's a level of expectation for a Saints Row game, and the reboot missed the mark for all of them. When I found out they were rebooting Saints Row, I spoke to an old friend of mine who was my old boss for the first game. He was the producer, and I was learning about what they were doing and thought, man, this is a terrible idea. Now, I don't know why he didn't speak out years ago when the reboot was the talk of the town, and I don't know why he really didn't give his thoughts then. Maybe it's because he had contracts, he didn't want to cause drama, he didn't want to bring any sort of backlash to his projects or his studio. But yeah, I think that this timing is really weird as well. In the same interview, he encouraged Saints Row owner Embracer to reach out, saying, if you're listening to this, contact me. Let's go. I can bring much to the old band back together who worked on Saints Row 1. I could turn that IP around with a decent budget. They don't even have to fund it. I could get other outside people to fund it. I could turn the franchise around. I know I could. And then he said that he's been asked to create a pitch for a Saints Row reboot, and he can't say anything more than that, but his dreams for the game just became a little bit more than dreams. So he had originally made this post saying to contact him, then he claimed that he was contacted and that he's been asked to create a pitch, and that there is quote unquote interest within the company, which is just absolutely wild to me. And I really don't know how they could turn things around at this point. Even if they went back to some of the amazing characters and storylines, I don't see a way that people would give them another chance. I mean, it was already a terrible idea to go with this cringe squad when they had so many good characters at their disposal. And sure, I would love to see a new story with Johnny and Pierce and Lynn and Shondi, and bringing the boss back, and I would like to see another high quality Saints Row game, but at the same time I have absolutely no faith in Embracer, and their ability to greenlight games that people actually want. And apparently, in his earlier Esports Insider interview, in his mind, he was thinking that he wanted to take the franchise back to the 70s and do a period piece and create a prequel of how the gangs from the first one started, and you're running around with a crew of teens that ended up as the main characters for the first game. It sounds like an okay concept, but at the same time, I just don't know if I trust Embracer. I don't even necessarily know if I trust Chris Stockman here. Not that I have anything against him. Not that I think that maybe he doesn't have good ideas. He certainly might. And he might actually be able to be one of those few people that can turn this series around. But after the reboot, I just don't have faith anymore. And I don't think I'm alone in that. I mean, looking at some of the scores for the 2022 title, it is sitting at a 3.3, generally unfavorable, with nearly 1,000 negative reviews over on Metacritic. This is such an abysmal score. And sure, as you can see, there are some people who were giving it like 9s and 10s, and they were trying to almost like reverse review bomb it because they say, oh, everyone trashed it, but I straight up loved it. Don't listen to the haters, though. It's very clear that people didn't show up to consume this content because the Saints Row reboot cost over $100 million to develop, and it led to major losses for the publisher. According to Embracer's third quarter earnings report for the year 2022, the profitability in PC/console during the period of October to December was impacted by the amortization of game development costs for titles released with a loss in Q1 and Q2, including the Saints Row reboot. Which, yeah, I can't say I'm particularly shocked that it led to major losses for them, and you get what you deserve. If you're not creating the content that your customers want, you deserve to go under. I don't honestly know what they spent $100 million on here. Visually, it wasn't appealing. The writing wasn't that good. The environments weren't that good. It didn't have like amazing level design. It's not like it had a multiplayer component. It didn't have anything going for it, and I genuinely have no clue how they wasted $100 million on this. But, of course, now we're hearing that apparently Embracer is curious about Stockman's ideas, and we could see some sort of reboot in the future, some sort of prequel in the future. And there are a lot of gamers saying, yeah, that sounds like a terrible idea. Missed the mark. I wasn't even in the same room as the target. They can keep it. Never call that reboot Saints Row. It was woke Gen Z bullshit. Leave the woke trash in the dirt where it belongs. But while we don't have a lot of details on this, I think that this would also be a complete and utter disaster for them. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this important and informative, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.